Welcome to the Esoteric Principles of Bodybuilding. This is Tyson Bannigan, your host, and we're having Batista Gramon back as the master body designer, and we're talking about the 13 chakras of manifestation, which sounds like an exciting show to me. I thought I only had 7, and now I just discovered I have 13. So yeah, we're going to learn a lot in this show. So Batista, welcome back, and sounds like a really interesting topic. So let's begin.
On. You're fooling me saying that you didn't know we had actually 13 chakras. I know you know about that. You can't trick me like that. Yeah. So thank you for having me back on this show actually, and talk about this very huge, deep topic of the 13 chakras and the secrets to manifestation. And so, as you know, the idea of having 13 chakras, or the knowledge of having 13 chakras, is actually something that has come more and more into the forefront of consciousness in the last few years, and it is a real intricate part of our evolution to really start working with those transpersonal chakras, those other 6 chakras that are outside of the bodies, which, you know, originally when we started talking about the chakras, the 7 chakras that are inside the body, it was like it's like super important, because it is what kind of puts our physical body into alignment. But the 6 other chakras that are outside of the bodies, these are the chakras that actually connect us to the universe. Okay. And so the 30, so actually there is really 12 chakras, but there is really 13, because the 13th chakra is like the opening gateway to the next level of consciousness. So if you think about, for example, the scale of like of a piano, the what do you call it? The
chromatic scale.
Yeah. You know, my English is going out the window as I get up in the other chakras, in the supernatural fields of consciousness. So if you look at the scale on the piano, you actually have 12 notes. The 13 is the beginning of the next note. So for the chakras is the same thing. So there's 12 of them, but the 13th is really it encompasses the whole of the 12, and it actually the gateway to the next level of consciousness. So in actuality, there's more than 13 chakras, because past the 13 chakras, there's 14, 15, and only God knows how many more there are. But us in our human shell, or, you know, where we reside, we actually can't access those until we it's like a ladder, you know, we have to access them, you know, once we reach 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, as we reach those levels, then the others start opening up, and we increase our consciousness, and that's the process of ascension, which we will talk about it more in detail next week. So, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just like, okay, so there's most people know about the 7 chakras in the body, right? Starting with the root chakra at the bottom, yes, and the, you know, the crown chakra at the top. So when we say the 13 chakras, how many above and how many below, and what are the functions of the ones below and above?
Okay, great question. So there are so many controversies about that, okay? And if you start researching it online, you are going to find, like, everybody has their own idea of how that is. So the only thing I can talk about is what I see, okay? And I've had dreams about it, and I told you I have an extensive background in the field of transmediumship and reading auras and all this. So this is the way I see it, and this is the only way I can really talk about it, the way I understand it, and the way it relates to my world, and connecting those dots with bodybuilding, or building the body towards building that body to ascension. This is my understanding of it, and this is the way I see it. And I don't say that it's the absolute truth, but it's just the way I see it, and that's how I can express it. So now that I have the disclaimer,
I'm really excited. How
good. So that was my disclaimer on that.
Right.
Okay. So the 13th chakra, actually, the way I see it is really, it's the one that is the highest, and it's really high above our head. It's the highest one. Between the 12th and the 13th chakras, there is a humongous amount of space. Okay, that's the way I look at it. The 13th chakra is, like I mentioned, is that opening to that new level of consciousness, where it gives us, where it starts giving us access to what we know as the masters of the Great White Brotherhood. Okay,
right.
These are the realms of the archangels and all those ascended masters, that Buddha, all those realms of consciousness. So that one is really high. Later on, I'm going to give you my vision of how to access it and put the puzzles together. Now, the 12th chakra, which comes like right below the 13th, there's a great distance, but that one is like the divine gateway, the God consciousness. So it's the gateway to where you, once you awaken that one, you actually now get access the 13th. One thing that I didn't mention about the 13th chakra, the way I see it, is the realm of unconditional love. It's the realm of the Divine Mother. And we've heard for a long time that in this era, we're going to be accessing the feminine energy and the Divine Mother, and this is going to be very predominant in this area of a time of ascension. And the 13th chakra is actually the seat of the Divine Mother and unconditional love. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. So those are above the head. Then you have the 11th chakra, which comes below the 12th chakra, and the distance is, when I was doing aura readings and all this, the distance between the chakras would depend kind of the person. It wasn't necessarily the same distance for everybody. So
Right.
So I think that it kind of depends of the person's consciousness and the way they work with the chakras. I have a sort of an intuitive feeling that as we awaken them, they kind of become closer to our body. And my vision is that when we reach the 13 chakras, then our body transcends, and then the chakras that are outside of the bodies now come inside of our body, because now we are at a different level physically. So I see this as a what would you call it, a rotating cycle of ascending. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what's above you then becomes a part of you, and then the next ones appear. It's like climbing Jacob's ladder.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so then you have the 10th chakra, and the 9th chakra is really the one that had a very serious impact on my awareness of how that went. And I had a dream about this once, and it really kind of puzzled me. And then I started really working with that chakra. And the 9th chakra is the what I like to call the realm of infinite possibilities. Okay, this is the chakra where all our past experiences, our lifetimes, our past lifetimes are stored. The knowledge of all that we have lived is all, and it's the causal plane of existence. It's like the etheric chakra, and nothing can happen on earth unless it has happened in that chakra already. Okay.
Right.
So which is really one of the key component of understanding the secret to manifestation, because when we, for example, study the law of attraction, we talk about, oh, you need to see it, and then you need to believe it, and then you need to really feel it, and then you can manifest it, and all this. But it's, the way I see it, it's like in reverse, because we already achieved it. It's already in the causal plane. It's something that's part of our past existence. So what we need to do, we don't need to invent it, or we just need to go reclaim it. Okay? So if we become aware of the fact that it is there already, and we just, but, okay, so you're going to say, well, if it was so easy, then everybody would do it and we would be able to manifest anything we want. Well, not so easy, because the mind plays tricks on us. The mind says, oh, it's very difficult. You see, we need to, there's so many things that we need to do to achieve, and this and that, where in actuality, we make life much more complicated than it really is. Because in actuality...
So are you saying that there's like, that there's an infinite treasure chest that has our name on it, and that all of what we would want or could want or possibly conceive is already in this like treasure chest or in this cave?
Absolutely.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Because we couldn't even think about it if it wasn't already there.
So sort of like the masters that you're talking about, that, you know, when they think, they can conceive or they can create, you know, they think an apple, they can create an apple. So you're saying the same thing. The fact, the only gap between us thinking and the creation is that is our belief system. We get in our own way, that, like you say, it has to be difficult, or it takes time, or we have to hold our body in a certain way, or be in the lotus position, or we need to do these, you know, these mantras or whatever.
Yeah, but yes and no, because it's already there. But you know, I'm jumping around a little bit to address what you just said. There are 12 universal laws that kind of govern our existence, right? And in order to really harmonize everything, we need to not only be aware and working with the 12 chakras, but also with the universal laws. And one of those universal laws is the law of action. So you can't just say, I'm going to go, it's there already, so it's going to happen like this. Once you become aware that you have it and it's yours to reclaim, now we still need to take some action towards manifesting it into this reality.
Yeah, I like that. My coach says, you know, it's all very well and good to you know, have this belief or manifest something, or ask creator or source to manifest something, but you got to pray with your feet. You got to do something.
Exactly, and that's part of that one of those 12 laws of universal laws. You know, the law of action, and you know the law of attraction became very popular with The Secret and this and that. So I think it's a good thing, because it opened the awareness to a lot of people of the possibilities. But it's just one law. It's just one thing. There's so much more, right? And so this is kind of what I wanted to address. So we were at the 9th chakra. So the 9th chakra is really the realm of infinite possibilities. That's what you call your treasure chest, or you know, so that's great. So now it's there, right? So now energetically, how the energies run, the way I see it in the body, is from the 9 chakras, the energies now run downward and outward. So that creates it's kind of in an eggshell shape.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the aura, and it goes downwards below the feet. And that's where the 8th chakra is located. So the 8th chakra is located below the feet, maybe 12 inches, 10, 12 inches, I don't know, something like maybe that. And that is the comparable chakra outside of our body to the root chakra in the 7th chakra system. So that's the grounding chakra that actually connects us to Mother Earth, the field, the energetic field of Mother Earth and the cosmos. So it's the grounding. See, as above, so below, right? That's the universal law of correspondence. So when we worked with the 7th chakra system, then we had the grounding principle and, the crown and how those energy were flowing. So in this realm, it's the same thing, but now it's outside of the body, but it's the same kind of principles. Okay.
Right.
So the 8th chakra then is the realm of all probability, if you like, because you came from all possibilities where you had all these information. Now you grounded in the 8th chakra, and now it's like probability. What are we going to do with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's under the feet, it's grounded, it's anchored into that space between the cosmos and the universe. Now you take that energy and you bring it upward again in that shell-like auric field, and you put it, and now you anchor it in the 7th chakra, in the crown chakra.
Mm-hmm.
So now the 7th chakra is the field of infinite potential. Okay?
So you're bringing the energy of the 8th chakra beneath your feet, which is infinite possibility, and you're anchoring it. No.
So you have the infinite possibility. It's the 9th chakra. That's where all resides, right? The past lives, anything that we lived. It's like maybe you want to call it the Akashic record.
Right.
I don't know. You take that, you bring it into the 8th chakra, which is the realm of all probability. It's probable that we could do something with this. Okay, because now we took it from here and we anchor it below. So now there's probability that we could maybe do something with this. But now we have to make it manifest, right? So we take that and we bring it up back to the 7th chakra, which is the realm of infinite potential. Now we have the potential to do something with this. From here, we bring it down into the body from the 7th, the 6th, and then we go back to the 7th chakra system, right? That we talked about before, where now we have a chance to actually make it real in the plane of manifestation.
So are we doing this with breath?
We're doing this with breath, and we're doing this with consciousness, and we're doing this for the purpose of running energy or for the purpose of manifesting. Right? So with the breath, and the way, okay, I'm going to make another connection here. The way it came to me in my dream, and I want to make that connection now because it's relevant to what we were talking about in the episode on posture and the 7th chakra, and it's relevant now to understand why I'm bringing this up in this episode and what does that have to do with anything that we talked about in the last 10 episodes, right? Because that's the point. Okay, the way it came to me in the dream is when I was reaching for that ninth chakra, I was kind of climbing up a ladder, okay? And I intuitively knew that it was what you mentioned before, the Jacob's ladder, right?
Yeah.
Which is the connection between heaven and earth. But the way I interpreted it is that ladder is really the spine.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking, it's the spine. The spine, as we saw in the prior episode, the spine is the power line of the body. Okay. So metaphorically speaking, it is like the staff. You know, in mythology, the masters, they have a staff, and that's the image of power, right?
Yeah.
It's that connection. So that metaphorically, for me, represents the spine. So the spine is the power line, and it is through which the energies flow. So as above, so below. When we talk about the physical body and the 7 chakra system and the nervous system, as we spoke before, all these energies have to flow through the spine. And so when we talk about the 13 chakra system, then there is that power line that's kind of invisible, but it continues. It doesn't stop in the body. It continues. And that is Jacob's ladder. It's what we have to climb. And
Right.
that, and that what we need to also put into alignment, just like in the physical body. Okay? So what does that have to do with bodybuilding and anything that we talked about in the past? Well, it makes complete sense, because if we now understand that we have those 12 universal laws, which I want to talk a little more about later, but one of them being the law of action, okay? So we have to also understand that once we have the vision that we understand what I'm talking about, we can go grab the energy, the frequency of what we want to manifest. We bring it, we run the energy through the 8th chakra, we bring it back to the 7th chakra, we flow it, and there's one more component that I want to talk about. But to go access that knowledge, our spine, that staff, that I don't know how to call it, that Jacob's ladder or whatever you want to call it, that's outside of the body, that has to be also in alignment. And since we as human beings have the responsibility to take action, then it is to make it manifest, then it becomes really apparent and obvious that it is our responsibility to do whatever we can to put our body back in alignment. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're saying the sacred geometry of the body and harmony, like we were talking about Leonardo da Vinci, a sketch of the human body. That alignment needs to be like the chakras and the physicality, which is then duplicated in the spiritual realm and all the way up. So
exactly.
we have to start in the body. In other words, we have to start from the ground up. And if it's not aligned in the ground or in our body, like you said, the base of the ladder, then the ladder isn't stable. And as you said, as above, so below, or as below, so above. So if we don't have a below clear and straight, the spine straight, then we can't climb the ladder.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
I think it's profound when you think about it, because we're all reaching for something that we may or may not understand, but we are actually. So look at it this way: when you look at it the way I see it, okay, then really what we are is we are like these ageless frequencies or energies. And we reside, so we are really this energy of full possibilities, and we reside between those two realms of probabilities and possibilities, and we're actually creating it's like virtual reality. We are like creating energy beings that resides in that field, and we are actually living in a virtual reality that we create, whether we are aware of it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, we are a multidimensional being, and we're using this body like an Earth suit, like an astronaut does, to play on what the third dimension we call planet Earth. And when we're finished playing the game, we put down the Earth, leave. And I was saying to somebody as a client, we don't, if an astronaut gets out of his spacesuit, and we don't do ceremony over a spacesuit. I mean, his spacesuit is a spacesuit. He just needed it for the third dimension, but there's no attachment to the spacesuit. It was just his vehicle or his way of operating on this plane. And it's the same with us. If we're multidimensional beings, then this physical body, as important as it is our spacesuit for this realm. And it's only as effective as our ability to maintain it, giving it the oxygen and the blood flow and aligning the spine and structural readjustment and doing the sacred geometry in our body to give us the full potentiality of what it is to experience this dimension.
I love the comparison, and it's totally that. As a matter of fact, like you said, if the astronaut doesn't take care of his spacesuit and then there's a hole in it, and then goodbye, right? That's it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Game over. And this is exactly what it is, So this is the way I saw it. But then there's more.
Yeah. So tell me more.
Then there's more, because now this is all good. We want to manifest. We all want money or the car or the thing, whatever people want to manifest. Okay. But as a light worker, and I don't know about you, but I know that's true for me, I really want to manifest things that are according to my divine purpose. And I want to manifest them for the greater good and for ascension, or for the new earth, or that new vision, that I have, right? And I think many of us in this field, we are in this game, if you want to call it that, for that reason, right? We want the money, we want the car, but ultimately we want the consciousness.
Right.
We want more. Yeah. So this is all good. You take it from the 9, you bring it to the 8th, and then you take it to the 7th. That's all good. But what about the 13th chakra? Okay, because that's where we want to ultimately go, to reach that next level of awareness, or reach those other realms of consciousness. So once that happens, that which I explained in that bubble between the 9, the 8th, and the 7th, now the object to really bring it to the next level of consciousness would be to bring all those energies and to climb that ladder a little bit higher. And that's quite high because that 13th chakra is like, whoa, is way up there, To climb that ladder and to actually reach that 13th chakra and bring all those energies into the 13 chakras to now make it manifest and to bring it up to the next level of consciousness. But there is a trick to this, okay? Because that is the realm of unconditional love. Okay. So anything that is not in alignment with unconditional love is not, the energies that are not going to be compatible.
Right. Okay? And it's not going to manifest.
It's not going to manifest, or what's going to happen is it's going to start transforming. You see, one of the other law of the universe is the law of the perpetual transmutation of energy. Okay, everything changes and energy changes and it shifts. And so when you shed light on something that is dark, then that's how you transmute the energy, and that's how you get rid of the darkness, by shedding light on it. So if the person is genuinely wanting that transformation, then what's going to happen is, through this process of reaching for the 13 chakras, things that are not in alignment with that message, they're going to start shifting, and it could create like a bit of chaos. You know, you might need to let go of things that you might not be ready to let go of, you know. So when you make a wish to go that realm, it's that to understand that everything has to be in alignment, and there's neither good or bad, because, you know, there's a divine timing for everything. And if we're not ready to just let go of, to make those big jumps, you know, it's neither good or bad. And that's another thing that we have a big misconception in, the way I see it in this plane of reality, is self-judgment. Self-judgment is really what keeps us stuck. You know, I have a feeling that once you reach that unconditional love realm, I'm pretty sure they don't see it like, oh, you bad here or you bad, because in that realm we don't operate from the level of opposites. See, in this realm, there's white, black, there's gender, male, female, this and that. But once we reach that other level of consciousness, it's oneness. And everything is experiential, and it's all in the now. So we as human, we are actually making our life horrible by self-judgment, by expectations, by, you know, all these things, where really the only thing we have to do is acceptance and taking action, just doing the next, whatever is in front of us. And that reminds me of one more thing that I didn't mention about the secret of manifestations. When you've done all this, the other thing that is super important, and probably the key to all of it, now you got to let it go. Let it go. Let go of the expectations of how it's going to manifest and when it's going to manifest. Because that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just, you know, trying to bring this all back into the gym, where one can get very self-conscious in the gym by comparing oneself to somebody else, and thinking that one isn't good enough, or that you can only lift this amount of weight and you think that you should be lifting more weight, or that you're too exhausted at the end, and or whatever. You know, you got all this judgment going on. Mm-hmm. And basically what you're saying when it comes back to this reality and in the gym is that being in the condition of self-love in the gym with the exercise you're doing, and being fully present with the breathing, and doing it because you want to do it. It's got nothing you want to be, or how you want to become, or how you're going to look, or whether you're going to be stronger. If you can just stay in the now with the exercise, that's where the benefit is. And stop judging ourselves, which I think, you know, the gym is, you know, for most people, that's counterproductive. Like when we walk in the gym, for most people, they're very aware of who's around and who might be watching. But in actual fact, nobody's watching you. They're too busy with their own cell phones or whatever they're doing. So
that is so true. Or watching themselves in a mirror.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And you said that wonderfully. And that is what I would call active meditation. Yes. Okay, because there's two ways of meditating. You can be sitting, you know, on a mountain and quiet, and, you know, and just like Buddha or whatever. And I'm not saying that this is not good or whatever, but I think that we've come to an age where we need to learn to do active meditation, and this applies to the gym, but this applies to everything we do. Because
Right.
when we live in the now, and we really truly live in the now, and we take every action in consciousness for the purpose of what we're talking about, ascension, realizations, enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it, then that's what it takes. That's what it is, actually. Enlightenment is probably just nothing else than just being aware and living in the moment in full consciousness of the divine and embodying that,
Yeah, absolutely. So you were wanting to say about what does this have to do with bodybuilding, and we talked about how we can access these 13 chakras, and we talked about why is it important. But one of the things that you are mentioning that you wanted to talk about is the 12 universal laws, and how did they apply to bodybuilding?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, so I want to just kind of take a quick walk through some of the things that we talked about and how these might actually apply to the universal laws and to bodybuilding. So first of all, the first thing is the law of oneness. And we're talking about that right now. Okay, so we're talking about being active meditation and the oneness and the spirit of enlightenment. And so that would be the first one in exactly what you said, in the gym, being in the moment, stop all judgment, etc. Let's take a look at some of these other laws of the universe. For example, the law of cause and effect. Okay. So the law of cause and effect, every action produces a reaction. What you plant, what you sow, you reap. Every emotion creates an emotion. So we talked about that. That refers to the law of cause and effect. Okay. Every movement that we have in the body, everything we do will have an effect on how we feel and how our body is going to respond. And that is like a domino effect. Whatever we do is going to be right? So if you can do it in a way that is like what we teach, right, then you're going to really reap the benefits internally from the exercise. So that is the law of cause and effects. Now you have the law of vibration, for example. Now I'm jumping a little bit because I don't have necessarily them all memorized and whatever. I'm just kind of going with the flow here. So the law of vibration, for example, we talked about that in the sacred geometry of bodybuilding, and we talked about how every number, or the number of reps, or the number of sets, or the sequence of exercise produces different vibration, like a symphony that we create. And that has to do with the law of vibration, that whatever we do in the gym really has a truly an impact of everything. And when I say domino effect, I really mean it, because it's not only in the gym and the body that you're going to get the consequences of it, but it's in your life, because everything is connected. So what we do in one place, now it has a consequences in the rest of our life, And then we have the law of gender, the yin yang of strength training. We talked about that, about how the feminine and the masculine energy affect our training, how a lot of times people approach fitness from a masculine energy, where we need to do more and compete, and how when we have balance between the male and the female energy, then how we can actually become empowered from the inside out. There is the one universal law that we talked about, that and then of course we have the law of polarity. Okay, so polarity, the black, the white, everything has two sides, So how does that apply to bodybuilding? Well, you are going to do, it has to do with like the sequence of exercise. Like, for example, what we see in the gym, and it connects a little bit with the law of vibration, right? Because if we talk about grounding, for example, we talked about how we're going to do an exercise and we're going to do another exercise, and everything is going to flow together to achieve an end result. And when you see, for example, how people train in the gym, they're going to do one exercise, like a grounding exercise, like a leg press, and then they're going to go and they're going to jump around and start doing jumping jacks or whatever. So there's no synchronicity, nothing, into the way people go about training, and that how that affects our lives. So the law of rhythms, I think I talked about this, the law of and then of course the law of action.
Mm-hmm.
Because and that I'm going to talk about more on our 13th episode, because it's good to have all this knowledge, and now what are we going to do about it, right? So the law of action, and of course the law of correspondence, as above so below, which is the connecting link between everything that we talked about for the last 10 weeks, is because everything that happens outside of the body happens inside of the body, and vice versa. And whatever we do in the gym is going to have a repercussion on on our life. And there's one more thing I want to say about the spine, because the posture, the power line of the body, when you have to think about it this way. When you see that the posture is actually the connecting link between heaven and earth, is that Jacob's ladder that helps us to make that connection. Okay, now look at what happens in the body. Think about osteoporosis, for example. Okay, osteoporosis is like the decay of your very core. See, people talk about the core, the stomach. The core is the spine. That's what holds you. That what's where the energies flow. And look at osteoporosis. So, as above, so below. If you're trying to run the energy through a spine that is decayed, it's like living in a house that's full of termites and is about to crumble.
Right. Right. I mean, I can just hear somebody listening to this show and say, "Yeah, but I've had scoliosis all my life, and how I was born with this, and how could I possibly go to the gym because it would be hurting too much, and what's that got to do with my life?" When in actual fact, you would be saying something completely different. So, what would you be saying?
I would be saying that scoliosis, there's a way to train in the gym with scoliosis. As a matter of fact, Stephen has put programs for people with scoliosis, and where they literally almost completely were able to realign their spine. And it's, we don't make medical claims, so don't say it. I can just only tell you what I see and the results I see when we work with people. People have a lot of excuses. We come on this lifetime with our own karma, with our own thing that we have to deal with. And, there are people in the gym that have no legs, that would be dead if they weren't in the gym training with whatever body part they have left. There's people that were told that if they that had crushed spines through accidents, and I know one person like this personally, who had a terrible car accident and literally crushed his spine. He was he had that halo, to keep his head together for 6 months. And doctors told him never to go to the gym, never to train again, because he could really make damage, hurt himself. And you know what he did? He went to the gym, he trained, and now he's in the gym, he's perfectly healed, and he's fine. So the gym is where it's at, folks, big fact on the body. So I understand that people have fears. You know, I had fears when I first went to the gym because I was very injured. And I didn't know that the solution was lifting weight. I said, what do you mean? If I'm going to lift weight, my shoulder pain is going to be gone?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense for most people. But guess what? It does make sense when you actually do it, because it helps the body realign it. And the body then remembers that in your muscle and your skeletal structure, and that relaxation that it eventually comes to, the body wants to maintain it. So it will begin to adjust from the body of pain into the body of bliss by letting go. So
yes,
yeah, don't ever think that you can't do this in a gym.
Absolutely. And for the person that has scoliosis and think that they can't do it because it hurts too much, the worst thing that you can do is do nothing, because there you're going to be in pain, because your body is going to decay, you're going to lose your muscle mass, the condition is going to get worse and worse. And then you're not going to only deal with the pain of scoliosis, you're going to deal with arthritis, you're going to deal with all the other problems that you have when you don't work out, you know, which are many. So stop making excuses. You know, the gym is where it's at. And again, if you know what you're doing, because you are dealing with weights in the gym, the way we do it, we deal with good weight. It's not monkey business. You know, we actually work with real weight. So I don't say that you need to go to the gym and start pressing 400 pounds on your own without knowing the sequence and what to do, because then you're going to hurt yourself, you know, of course, you know, but reach out, because it's available, it's here, and it's where it's at.
Yes, so don't forget, you know, this show is all about why we think you could go to the gym and make your life a lot more easy and grace, to help relieve pain, to realize that your body is your friend, not your enemy, and that you can reverse pretty well everything, no medical claims intended. But guess what? Going to the gym and doing structural realignment allows you to have a much more beneficial life, and you move with more ease and grace and less pain. And what could be better than that? So we're really near the end of the show. Is there any last things that you'd like to leave us as we wrap this up?
No, I just want to say that next week, so we're pretty much wrapping up the whole series, actually. So there's two more episodes, and next episode we're going to continue talking more about the universal laws, but more specifically about the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and we're going to look at the creating that ascension body that we.
Well, it sounds great. So this is it. This is a wrap. Same time, same place next week, Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in the meantime, don't forget to go to the gym.
Okay, see you next week.
All right, bye for now.
Bye-bye.